from the Thom Farms, just outside of Eddie's Corner. Here today with Jason Thom. They purchased a Haybuster 980 vertical mixer from me a year and a half ago, right?
Yep.
And can you tell us a little bit about why we started there and how many head you're feeding here?
So we're feeding about 500 mother cows, and so we originally bought that because we were short on feed from a couple dry years, so we started feeding more straw and looking into other things to feed. So that's originally why.
So most of the feeding that you're doing is out in the different pastures.
Yep.
You've got your bulls in here now, but most of the feed is done outside of bunks, just on the ground.
Yeah, after calving, everybody's kicked out on the pastures, so that's what we're feeding out in the pastures. Prior to them calving, we have everything here in the corrals, so we're feed everybody in the feed lines, and yeah.
So before that, you were using a processor.
Yep.
To do all your feeding.
Yep.
And then prior to the processor, feeding everything off the back of the bed.
Yeah.
Some of the numbers per day on your, we talked about this, price per day for feeding your bred heifers, price per day feeding your pairs, versus, we weren't really tracking it before as much as you are now because it was a little harder to do. But what are you roughly, on the 500 head that you're feeding, what are you feeding price per day? And what's your mix?
So I'm feeding 6 1/4 pounds of straw per head, 16 pounds of hay per head, and 27.5 pounds of silage per head. So for our bred heifers, actually cost of feed, straw's about $50 a bale, hay's $200 a ton, and we put up silage this year, which figured out to be about $20 a ton.
And your silage was
the silage is mostly grain hay barley, a little bit of alfalfa that we put in there just on top of the pile, and then covered it up, for the rest of the fall. But so that ration for our bred heifers, 5.5 pounds of straw, 14 pounds of hay, and 21 pounds of silage it's about $1.96 per head when you figure that.
So feeding conventional hay,
yep,
versus feeding this,
we're saving about $1.04 to be exact per head feeding bred heifers.
Yeah, because you're feeding about a bale.
Yep, a bale per 1,500 pound bale of hay per 50 head. So
yeah,
at $200 a ton,
Yeah, so you're cutting your feed costs in half.
Yeah.
So
by third anyway.
With all the inputs and everything, hay, tractors,
yep,
the vertical mixer itself. A vertical mixer isn't cheap.
Yeah.
And when you look at, depending on the size, from the 710 up to now the 1200 that we're using today, you're looking at a $65,000 to $95,000 machine. And so how do you pencil that? But if you're cutting your feed costs,
we figure we can pay for one of them, a vertical mixer, in 1 year off of the extra hay that we can sell that we're not feeding that year. That's how we justify it. And so a 500 head operation. One of the nice things I like about the mixer is I can feed 180 head on a load and not make 10 trips back and forth to the hay yard.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you for your time and everything, and we got another mix ready to go, so let's go feed.
All right, sounds good.